Mi'kmaq style regalia. None of it. It's all from out west. But I'll explain that as part of the journey. Our traditional regalia was actually very, in old days we would have worn caribou skins. The designs on it would have been done either with ochre or if we were on the mainland, they might have used porcupine quills, things like that, shells, and things of the natural environment. And around, I'd say the late 1700s, we, as we became developing relationships with our French neighbors and Acadians and the different people, we developed relationships with the people. In fact, it was the Mi'kmaq people that helped a lot of the Acadian families being expelled from America by the English. A lot of them hid. And most Mi'kmaq reserves all over Mi'kma'ki, which is our word for Mi'kmaq Nation's land or territory, there are Acadian families or communities even all the way around the reserves. So we have very close, we've had a historic relationship with the Acadian community. So this style of coat would have been a gift given from, say, a French naval officer to our chiefs. Now there are a lot of people, you'll see, if the Mi'kmaq Grand Council, sometimes you'll see them wearing coats like this. And so these coats were given as gifts, and the women would put the ribbon work on, and then they would put beadwork over the top.
And they wear the cap too, right? The pointed cap too.
So, yeah, the women wore like a peak cap. We'll get into the women's style. Okay. The men often were bareheaded, but there were some types of hats that were worn, but not. I just wanted to show you felted wool material, often either a black or a blue color. And yeah, see all the designs. But I just wanted you guys to understand the difference. The one thing that remained the same with the old style of dances, and you may have learned a little bit about Gojwa dancing and things like that. Those are some of the traditional dances Mi'kmaq people had, and the Gojwa was used an instrument called the Jigamachan, and it's made from wood. You guys did workshops here, I think. And yeah, so that would have been, but this is a formal style of coat that people still wear. I still wear this like our people, usually for something informal and stuff with government and things like that. But I just want you guys to understand. And Michelle, women's regalia. This is my partner, Michelle Bennett. She's actually a band member also.
Benoit, who was a Benoit?
It's Benoit, really.
Yes.
Yeah. One day.
Back in the 18s, there was incredible pressure for our people to convert to English versions. And part of that, we've seen that a lot in this area between the Youngs turning to, going from Lejeune to Young, to LeBlanc, to White, and of course Benoit to Bennett and things like that. So that's where that started.
Winter past,
Focus on that. You want to get it first.
You want to take one first?
Yeah. So that's what we're doing. We're just doing Mi'kmaq style regalia first right now.
Okay. Start with the peak hat.
That's the hat.
This hat, traditionally, before they had fabric, they would use, I heard, birch bark. They would make it into a cone around their head to protect. The hat they would start making when young girls transition into the next phase of life. And the beadwork that we'll put on the hat represented their life story. So it's something you add throughout life. I was to a peak hat workshop with Andrea Colfer from Nova Scotia, the other side. Awesome woman, and did learn a lot from her. She brought with her petroglyphs and the different explanations to them, and came with the pattern, and we all sat down and made our own hats, and we put things that represent us. So we didn't get to do this growing up, so we had to just fill it in there, right? But what mine represents is this means thank you, creator. And this means everything. And when you put on these, they're like apostrophes, it means an action. So thank you, creator, for everything you do. So, and I put...
That's our traditional writing system before we used like alphabet system, right?
And I put symbol for water, someone. For, because I'm living on an island, so water. With the water inside of it. The double curve's got different meanings. Some say it can mean canoe. I've heard it was, or this beginning of life, and then you have the middle of your life, in the middle of the double curve, and then the end of your life, but it's never ending, right? Because
Well, that's what often you'll see the designs, the curves will come up against each other. It's like passing on from generation to generation. Right?
So it's the beginning, middle, the end, but it starts over again, right? And so I am in love with the ocean, so I gotta have the water. So and that's what this means to me also. The everything symbol. It's like the water is everything to me. It is everything to us. We can't live without it, right? So that's what I started my hat off in. And inside, I have a little loop with 4 dots on it, and that symbolizes my little family. Like, right?
Yeah.
So, and the peaked hat. Now, usually it's much more peaked, but
Well, and also these types of hats, of course, women are very respected in Mi'kmaq culture, and the matriarchs, like our grandmothers and things, are very respected. So a woman would start off a hat like this, and the designs may grow as their life grows, as their family grows. They might make another curve to represent a grandchild or etc. You know, so it's almost like a family history, symbolic in the designs, right?
yeah. So if anybody's interested in the pattern, would love to share it. So
Can we share it, pass this around so people can touch? Now, with anyone's regalia, it's always good to ask before touching things, but we don't mind you guys touching these things. Only thing we usually don't like people to touch hands on are feathers, because they're ceremonial and they're sacred to us. And I'll explain all that stuff too in a little bit.
So, if you look at pictures online, like old pictures of Mi'kmaq people when they had access to, or started trading for fabric and stuff, they would start making their traditional clothing in fabric. So I did the same thing with so that my skirt would match
The hat.
my hat. So again, it's double curve, water, and
What's the story about the skirt, the length of the skirt? Why the skirt?
and you've heard of ribbon skirts, right? You've seen people ribbon skirts.
Ribbon? Oh.
Yeah. Those are ceremony, or we go to gatherings and traditional things. The skirts are supposed to be long, almost touching the floor. And the reason for that is not to hide your legs or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that, but it's grounding you. So when the skirt touches the ground, you're connected. And that's also the same meaning for the fringe. You'll see on the regalias.
Fringe is also a representation of our roots.
Yeah.
Right? It's our roots.
And the same thing with hair. Your hair, and one of the reasons why natives wear their hair long is to be closer to Mother Earth. This is your root to Mother Earth. You draw your energy.
It's also considered our umbilical cord to the Creator.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. So
And,
Michelle has lots of different regalia items that you can at some time when you can come up and take a look at, I think.
Yeah.
And she's done all her beadwork, so as I did. I've done my beadwork, and my girls have done most of their stuff. But yeah, this is all different styles of beadwork and stuff. You can look at it. So thank you, appreciate it. And we'll get into talking about some of the other stuff here in just a moment. But I really wanted to cover strictly the Mi'kmaq styles of beadwork first. So I'd say back in the 70s at some point,
Thank you.
there was a lot of movement across the continent, really, to reconnect with Indigenous rights in our communities. In fact, even here in Dogmagog, in Newfoundland, people, the movement, the Native movement, got together and was trying to organize. So through that, a lot of exchange started happening, and a lot of our people were inspired by other cultures and stuff. One such culture was out in the plains. There's, of course, many different tribes out there: Lakota, Nakota, the Cree, the Plains Cree, Assiniboine. There's a lot of different tribes out that way, and the Cheyenne, etc. So they were very appreciative, and they're very generous also, like our people. And they shared these dances with people. But it's important to talk about where these dances come from. Like, I mean, there's a lot of dances you see. Has everyone here been at a powwow before? Okay, so you see there's a lot of different styles. You probably wonder where they come from. So like you've seen the women's jingle dress dancers, for example, and that came from the Anishinaabe, the Ojibwe, the people from the Great Lakes area, right? So, but yet our people are doing it. So some of these dances have been adopted. On my regalia here, the only thing Mi'kmaq specific to them are put on. Back in 1995, a friend of mine who was from the Northern Cheyenne Nation, from Montana, from Lander, Montana to be exact, Casey Lefevre, from the Lefevre family. After years of struggling with and it was a really big, it sent shockwaves through our families and friends that knew him. And his family, his mother actually is a descendant from a man named Tatanka Yotanka. You guys heard of Sitting Bull? That's his native name, Tatanka Yotanka. So that's her family, and she was responsible for doing, setting up the first native radio in the States. And so her name is Susan Brain. Family, anyway, we were very close. Casey Lefevre was one of those people that really inspired me to dance and learn. So I attribute him to part of my journey. So anyway, I went down to his community, and they had ceremony going on and stuff, and then people there had gifted me my first bustle. This is an eagle, and it's ways of making the bustle, but there's meaning behind it. And this is the men's traditional dance. This is not, this is the traditional style dance. This would have been inspired from, and actually it was quite